In part 1, you learned about the cell cycle and the stages of a cell's life as it undergoes interphase and mitosis to form new cells. In part 2, I'll discuss cancer, which is the unregulated growth and division of cells, which has claimed millions of lives in its existence. Before I get into the details and discuss cancer, you have to understand one really important concept about cell size. So cells are really small and they're forced to divide, and they can't become as big as elephants because of something known as the surface area to volume ratio. So what this means is bigger cells have a much harder time taking in nutrients and removing waste products the bigger they become, and that's because the surface area can't really catch up to the volume. Let's do the math here and you'll understand why cells divide and why they can't just become bigger. So on the left we have a cube that is big and a cube that is small on the right. And let's just make up some numbers here. Let's just say this cube has edges of just 3, which means the surface area would be 3 times 3, which would be 9. And that's just one face, but remember there are 6 faces on a cube. So 9 times 6 would be 54. So this cube has a surface area of 54. Let's now figure out the volume, which would be 3 times 3 times 3, or length times width times height, giving us 27. So the surface area to volume ratio would be 54 to 27, which simplifies to 2 to 1, which is not great. You're going to see in a moment. But this small cube over here, let's just say the edges are just 1, so this would be 1 times 1, giving us the face as being 1. But remember, there are 6 faces on a cube, so 1 times 6 is 6. So the surface area is 6. The volume is 1 times 1 times 1, length times width times height, giving us a volume of just 1. So that means the surface area to volume ratio is 6 to 1, so it's greater in the small cube, which means smaller cells are more efficient at moving in nutrients like water and glucose and stuff like that. So it's more efficient at moving stuff in and out of the cell, things like waste products, for example, because it has more surface area, so it can support its volume much better. Whereas a bigger cell, okay, even though it has more surface area, remember, the volume actually grows exponentially. So if cells were as big as like elephants, it would be really inefficient at moving stuff in and out of the cell. There are many factors which regulate cell growth and cell division. As I discussed in part 1, there are many checkpoints in interphase and mitosis which make sure that the DNA has been replicated successfully and without errors. During normal cell growth, a cell typically understands that it's supposed to stop dividing once it touches another cell. In tumor cells or cancer cells, however, they just keep dividing and they keep multiplying because they don't understand that they're supposed to stop. Furthermore, and what's even scarier, is cancer cells don't understand when they're supposed to die. In a normal cell, it will undergo something called apoptosis, which is normally programmed cell death or cell suicide. The cell will activate genes that help it self-destruct as it reaches the end of its life cycle. However, in cancer cells, it just doesn't know when it's supposed to go away, so they just keep dividing and they keep growing. Some tumors are benign, which means it causes no harm to your body or your health. However, some tumors are malignant, which means it's able to metastasize or break away and travel through the bloodstream and spread to other parts of the body. When this happens, the tumors then start to grow and they colonize in certain areas and they start to sap healthy cells of its nutrients. Cancer is caused by radiation and carcinogens, which cause damage to your cell's DNA. You can lower your risk of getting cancer by practicing good, healthy habits, such as drinking alcohol in moderation, avoiding smoking tobacco, and wearing sunblock. Cancer can be treated with both radiation and chemotherapy. However, this leaves the patient feeling tired and fatigued because the treatment will kill both cancerous and normal healthy cells. So in short summary, cancer is scary because the cancer cells don't understand when they're supposed to die and when they're supposed to stop growing and dividing. As a result, they begin to metastasize and spread to other parts of the body where they begin to sap nutrients from normal, healthy cells. I hope you learned a lot from this video lesson on cancer. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time on Win Biology.